challenges recently, distinguished colleagues. And one of those challenges is about the End SARS protest by the youth. And we are aware of their demands. Mr. Speaker, this bill, when passed, our youths will celebrate this house. I'm not retiring anybody. Mr. Speaker, am I protected?
Please allow Honorable Eke to lead his debate. Allow him to lead the debate as is provided in our rules. Please.
Speak to the chair.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for that protection. Mr. Speaker, this bill is a buffer to the Not Too Young to Rule Act, which the 8th Assembly passed, and Nigerians were overwhelmed and celebrated us for passing that bill. Mr. Speaker, you cannot talk about Not Too Young to Rule Act when the 18 politicians still occupy the spaces for these youths to come on board. Mr. Speaker, this bill...
Continue. Why are you distracted? Continue.
Mr. Speaker, hey, please, are you too old to be here?
Speak to the chair. Speak to the chair. You don't need to look back.
You are distracting me, please.
Speak to the chair, Honorable.
Mr. Speaker, this bill will go a long way in confirming the long-age saying that the youth are leaders of tomorrow. That is what we've been hearing since for a long time, Mr. Speaker. Today is our tomorrow. And I will urge my colleagues to allow this bill. This bill is not targeted at anybody, but this bill will give our youth the hope that today, tomorrow, they will be part of governance.
Honorable Eke, I want to understand this bill. It says to put age minimum or maximum?
Maximum, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, so if you are above a certain age,
yes,
you cannot contest.
Yes,
that's what you are saying. What is your maximum age?
Mr. Speaker, for the office of 20 years as a limit.
Okay, go on. Senate?
The Senate will have 65.
House?
The House of Reps will have 65.
You have some members here will not be eligible in 2023.
No, 65 years. The House of Reps, Mr. Speaker, is 65 years.
All right, let him finish. Point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Honorable Ndudi Elumelu, and I represent the good people of Anocho Oshimili Federal Constituency. I'm from Delta State. Mr. Speaker, my point of order is on order, constitutional order, section 42, under fundamental human rights, and it talks about right to freedom from discrimination. Mr. Speaker, rising from this...
Silence, please. Silence, please.
Mr. Speaker, rising from this, I want to advise the sponsor of this bill, without necessarily reading this provision, to step down that bill for us to have more discussion outside the plenary. That will enable members to understand the essence of the bill. Because if we allow this bill to go, given the provision of this section 42, there will be some kind of issues bordering on it, because you cannot discriminate any Nigerian from contesting the election. But given that this is a house that allow people to air their views and also will compromise, I will advise that the sponsor of this bill step down the bill and let us allow it to be consolidated. This is my submission. So let the sponsor of this bill step it down and let us have more discussion on the bill.
Well, yeah, but section 42 is not applicable because it doesn't talk about age.
Be subjected to any disability or deprivation merely by reason or circumstances of his birth. So if you are 65 years, because you are 65, it's by birth, it's your age.
So circumstances of birth?
Yes.
It has to do with age?
Yes.
Okay. Wait now. Circumstance of birth could mean that maybe you have polio or you have some...
Trying to talk about age, that by age you have, is bringing the person to be a disability.
Yeah. So, okay, fine. Any... Honorable Jimoh.
My name is Jimoh Ojugbele. Our friend, our brother has come with good intention, but not well intended. Simply because you cannot limit the age to contest an election. Maturity and wisdom are not the same. We are talking of two different things at a time. I would rather want him to either step it down or we take the voice vote and hit the gavel so that the decision can be taken.
In the alternative, he should not discriminate, he should include. The Constitution says at 35 you can come to the house. At 40 you can be a governor. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, the best governor we had then in the South State District was 23. What he could have done is to say, at the age of majority, you can contest, not to take away the wisdom of the elders. He can draft this to now say, rather than saying 35, you come to the house. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, anybody who is up to 23, 24, 25 can come to National Assembly. Not to say that the wisdom of those who are 70 should be taken away. So, in trying to play, to balance this, I would suggest that rather than going to the maximum, we could bring the minimum to a way to accommodate more youths, to say, once you are of majority and capable, contest. But saying that if you are 70, you cannot be a president. If you are 65, you cannot, then it will be dangerous. All over the world, I am told that Biden is 70 plus. I am told that the man who is even living became at 70 something. Not everybody will be at 30. And like the last speaker said, the wisdom of Solomon has nothing to do with the age of Methuselah.
If by way of senility or you are acquainted with any disease and you are incapable of performing the duties of your office, our laws are very clear on that. That what the Federal Executive Council and the legislature can do so that you can vacate that office. But we wouldn't ordinarily. I think the expansion, like Honorable Bonta said, should expand downwards. When somebody gets to the age of majority, which ordinarily is 18 years, he should be available to contest for any office. That is what we can do for young people. Expand the net. And some of them who are now at an age of, given opportunity to have early education. Some of us did not go to school until we were 8 years. Those were days when you have to turn you have to put your head over your distance and touch your ear. We couldn't start school early because of the war and because of other issues. But we are here, acquitting ourselves properly. So those of them who are opportune to have early education and much more savvy in terms of education, we can expand our laws downwards.
Look at the content of the bill. The mover has a very good intention, but it's not well crafted. So I suggest that he's going to step down the bill so that we make further consultations in order to represent it in the near future.
Right Honorable Speaker, distinguished colleagues, my name is Honorable Bede Eke. I represent Abombise, Ngobala Federal Consensus. Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, I found myself in a very precarious situation and I can see the mood of the House. Mr. Speaker, but one thing I want to let my colleagues know is that in this House, we have called for the retirement and sack of the service chiefs. In this House. In this country, the civil service rule says once you are 60, you go on retirement. 60 or 35 years. Please. Please. Mr. Speaker, I just want my colleagues to note these two things. That this would have been an opportunity for us to let our youth know that we think about them, that we want to carry them along, that we want them to be part of governance. Having said that, Mr. Speaker, by leave of this House, for further consultations, I move to step down this bill.
Please take your seat.